Title: You're still at that little company? My ex-wife mocked at her lavish wedding to a wealthy man moments later. Her new husband approached me. Sir, I had no idea you'd be here, he said. I grinned, and my ex-wife's face drained of color. When she realized the truth, it was already too late. Chapter 1. An unexpected invitation. The letter arrived on a quiet Monday, slipped between mundane bills and a takeout menu. It was elegant, heavy, the sort of stationery reserved for impressing the elite. I nearly discarded it, mistaking it for junk, until I spotted her name. Melissa Andrews, my former spouse. 5 years ago, she'd left our modest two-bedroom flat with a single bag and a cutting smirk, leaving me with a divorce settlement and a mountain of her debts. She'd always claimed she was destined for grandeur, far beyond a man tied to a small firm. The envelope held a gilded card. You are cordially invited to the wedding of Melissa Andrews and Nathaniel Stone. Nathaniel Stone, a name synonymous with wealth in our city. Real estate tycoon. The kind of man who could buy a yacht on a whim. The invitation bore my name, Daniel Carter, with no mention of a guest. No personal note. Just a formal summons, likely sent to flaunt her victory. I almost chuckled. Melissa didn't want me there to share her joy. She wanted me to witness her triumph. But she was unaware of something. Something that would shatter her perfect day, and by the time she understood, it would be far too late. Chapter 2. Arriving at the wedding, the venue was as extravagant as I'd imagined. Sparkling chandeliers, polished marble, and servers in pristine white gloves. Every detail screamed opulence, the life Melissa had dreamed of while we ate takeout in our cramped home. I entered alone, dressed in a sharp navy suit, not ostentatious, but well-fitted, understated yet confident. Heads turned, not in awe, but in curiosity. Whispers followed me through the crowd. Is that her ex-husband? Why would he even show up? Melissa's brother, Mark, approached with a smug grin. Look who decided to crawl out of obscurity, he sneered. What are you doing here? She's moved on to someone who matters. Her new in-laws snickered behind him, their disdain palpable. I didn't take the bait. Instead, I offered a calm smile. It's a wedding. Why wouldn't I be here? Before Mark could retort, Melissa appeared, draped in a gown worth more than my car, diamonds glittering at her throat. Her smile faltered when she saw me. Daniel, she said, her voice laced with forced courtesy. I didn't expect you. Why not? I replied, my tone carrying a subtle edge she couldn't yet decipher. Then Nathaniel Stone, her groom, stepped forward, extending a hand. Sir, he said warmly, I didn't know you'd be attending. I shook his hand firmly. Why not? I said again, my eyes locking with Melissa's. Her face paled. She suddenly realized my presence wasn't just an inconvenience. It was a threat. Because Nathaniel Stone wasn't just her fiancé, he was my most important client, and today would mark his awakening. Chapter 3. The first signs of trouble. Nathaniel's handshake lingered, his expression curious, as if piecing together a puzzle. You two know each other? He asked, glancing between Melissa and me. Melissa opened her mouth, but I spoke first. Oh, we go back years. Collaborated on several projects. Her hand twitched nervously. Business, she interjected, her voice too high. Daniel runs a minor consulting firm. Nathaniel's brow creased. Minor? That's odd. I was just telling my board how critical Daniel's team has been to Stone Enterprises. Without them, our Paris deal wouldn't have closed. The crowd's murmurs grew louder. Guests leaned closer, intrigued. Melissa's eyes flickered with unease. Paris, she echoed faintly. You worked with Nathaniel? Worked with him, I said with a soft laugh. Melissa, I still work with him. I reached into my jacket and handed Nathaniel a sleek black card. In fact, we're finalizing a multi-million-dollar contract next week. I plan to share the news at the reception, Nathaniel. Nathaniel's face lit up, clearly impressed. But when he glanced at Melissa, his expression shifted. She looked as if she'd swallowed a stone. I excused myself and headed to the bar, leaving Nathaniel whispering to her. She flinched, shaking her head, gripping his arm. He gently pulled away, a subtle move, unnoticed by most, but not by me. It was the first crack in Melissa's carefully curated world. Chapter 4. The champagne speech. The lights dimmed as servers moved through the tables, pouring champagne into crystal flutes. The clinking of glasses drew attention to the head table, where Melissa and Nathaniel sat beneath a cascade of white roses. Nathaniel stood first, addressing the room with a warm smile. Thank you all for joining us to celebrate not just our union, but the future we'll create together. The crowd clapped politely. Then Melissa rose, her diamonds sparkling in the glow. I want to thank my remarkable husband, she said, her voice dripping with charm, for lifting me from a life of, let's say, modest struggles to one of grandeur and success. The guests chuckled. Nathaniel's smile grew strained. I stayed still, holding my glass, waiting for the room to quiet. Then I rose slowly. If I may, I said, my voice clear and steady. Melissa's eyes widened. Daniel, just a toast to the couple. I continued, strolling toward their table. To Nathaniel, a brilliant leader and one of the sharpest minds I've worked with. And to Melissa, who deserves some recognition too. The crowd tittered. Melissa's grip on her glass tightened. I turned to the guests. I've had the honor of working closely with Nathaniel this past year. In fact, the deal we're closing next week will make his company the dominant force in the region. And here's the irony. I smiled, as if sharing a private jest. It was Melissa's actions years ago that set me on the path to making this possible. Nathaniel's eyes narrowed. What do you mean? Melissa's voice wavered. Don't worry, I said, meeting her gaze. I'll explain, and I think everyone here should hear it. The room fell silent. Even the music stopped. Melissa's smile trembled. Nathaniel's hand slipped from hers. The stage was set. Chapter 5. The truth unveiled. I let the silence linger, like a prosecutor pausing before the final strike. 4 years ago, Melissa and I were married. I ran a modest but growing consulting firm. We were on the verge of signing a major client, a deal that would have transformed our business. But, Melissa, you recall what happened next, don't you? She shifted, her nails digging into her flute. This isn't the time, she said sharply. Oh, it's perfect, I replied, my voice steady. You shared confidential information with a competitor, someone you were involved with at the time. That betrayal cost me the deal. And our marriage. Gasps rippled through the room. Nathaniel turned to her, his expression darkening. That's not true, Melissa snapped, too quickly. I smiled faintly. Then you won't mind if I share the email you sent from your personal account that night. You wrote, he'll never suspect a thing. And you were right. I didn't. Not then. But I do now. I pulled a folded sheet from my jacket. A printed copy of the email, complete with date and recipient. I set it before Nathaniel. His eyes scanned the page, his jaw clenching with each word. Also, Nathaniel, I said softly, you might want to know your new wife recently contacted your top rival. She tried the same scheme again. But this time, she chose the wrong mark. The silence was deafening. Melissa half stood, her voice trembling with panic. You're lying. Nathaniel's voice cut through, low and sharp. Sit down. She froze, her eyes darting between him, me, and the watching crowd. I took a slow sip of champagne. To the newlyweds, I said, may your marriage be filled with the trust and loyalty it truly deserves. I set my glass down and walked away, leaving Melissa's perfect world in ruins. Chapter 6. The collapse. I was nearing the exit when a voice broke the silence. Nathaniel's mother, poised and icy, the true force behind the family's fortune, stood. Nathaniel, she said, her gaze fixed on Melissa. A woman who trades loyalty for profit has no place in our family. Handle this. Now. The whispers became a roar. Guests pulled out phones, snapping photos of the email, murmuring to one another. A few of Melissa's friends slipped away from their table, unwilling to be tied to the scandal. Nathaniel slid the email toward her. Tell me it's not real. Melissa's hands shook. It was a long time ago. Tell me it's not real, he repeated, his voice loud enough to silence the room. She opened her mouth, but no words came. Nathaniel stood, pushing his chair back. We're finished. Leave the ring, and stay away from my family, my company, and my life. Her face collapsed. Nathaniel. His mother signaled security. 2 men in dark suits stepped forward. One took her arm. The other gently removed the diamond ring from her finger and placed it on the table. I watched as she was escorted out a side door, the sound of camera clicks marking the end of her fairy tale. Nathaniel met my gaze, his expression a mix of embarrassment and respect. I wish I'd known earlier, he said quietly. You know now? I replied. Good luck. I stepped into the crisp night air, the chaos of the ruined reception fading behind me. Chapter 7. Social ruin by morning, the wedding fiasco was viral. Someone had posted the footage, Melissa's panicked expression, Nathaniel's mother's cold rebuke, and her escorted exit. The video amassed thousands of views in hours, with brutal captions. Asterisk, marry for wealth, but your past always collects. Asterisk asterisk, from Mrs. Perfect to Mrs. Disgraced. Asterisk, it wasn't just strangers piling on. Her bridesmaids began deleting wedding photos. Old friends unfollowed her en masse. Nathaniel's elite circle shut her out entirely. By midweek, her name was a trending scandal. Blogs unearthed old gossip. Former colleagues leaked stories of her inappropriate client dealings. Her in-laws acted swiftly. The prenup ensured she left with nothing. No estate. No luxury car. Not even the gown she'd worn. 2 days later, she was spotted stepping out of a rideshare, clutching a single bag. Then came the call from her parents. I wasn't supposed to hear it, but Nathaniel later shared. Melissa, you've disgraced us. Don't come home. We can't be linked to you now. That was the final blow. No husband, no social circle, no family. Meanwhile, my small firm, the one she'd ridiculed, closed a major deal that week. Nathaniel's company, fittingly, was now one of our clients. The best part? I never shouted or sought vengeance openly. I simply presented the truth and let the world handle the rest. Epilogue. The last call 3 months later, my phone buzzed with an unfamiliar number. Against my instincts, I answered. Hi, it's me, Melissa said, her voice frail, unsteady. I just wanted to apologize. For everything. I wasn't thinking back then. I heard the hum of traffic, a gust of wind. No hint of a luxurious home, just solitude. I'm staying with a friend, she continued. It's temporary, but could we meet for coffee? Talk. Maybe be friends again. I thought of the years I'd spent believing she cared, the public shame, her smug grin at the wedding. Then I thought of my son, who deserved to see what dignity looked like. I'm glad you called, I said calmly. She exhaled, a spark of hope in her voice. You are? Yes. Because now I can tell you, face to face, that I never want to see you again. A shaky, oh, was all she managed. Before she could say more, I hung up, and this time, I walked away without a backward glance. Was this retribution fair? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you believe this story's justice was deserved, like it and share it with someone who'd appreciate its energy. Subscribe to Lauren's Tales for more gripping stories of betrayal and reckoning, where every deception meets its consequences. Stay sharp, stay bold, and stay tuned.